Hey guys, Pastor Troy here. So I managed to spill coffee all over my laptop. I totally forgot I had a mug full of coffee. I went to clean it up really quick and managed to dump it directly onto my keyboard. Anyways, I can be pretty forgetful. I forget a lot of things. My wife will tell you that. But my forgetfulness was teaching me this week about how important it is to remember. And not just remember when you have coffee in a mug, although that definitely helps. I was thinking more about spiritual remembrance and learning to have a good spiritual memory. And what I mean by that is learning to remember to look back at who God is and what He's done. I think one of the greatest ways to build faith and confidence and strength in seasons when we might be questioning God's faithfulness, questioning God's goodness, is to intentionally look back and remember what He has already done in your life. Because that same God is still with you today. You'll notice in key moments in the Bible that people will actually look back at how God has been faithful to them in the past, and doing that actually builds faith and confidence for whatever they're facing in the present. So think about David. Right before he faces Goliath, the giant Goliath, he actually remembers and he says, "The Lord who rescued me from the claws of the lion and the bear will rescue me now." So he looks back at seasons when God helped him in the past, knowing that God is with him today in the present. Or I think about Joshua when he took over from Moses. God actually tells Joshua, he says, "Remember how I was with Moses? I'll be with you too. The same God that split the Red Sea is with you now, Joshua." And so people in the Bible are always building altars to remember what God's done. They're always writing songs or they're naming places based on something that God's done. And that what they're doing is they're building a spiritual remembrance. They're doing that to help them remember that in times of doubt, in times of struggle, they can remember and look back that the same God that rescued them then is with them now. I want to read from Psalm 77 for you. So this is a psalmist, and he says, starting in verse 7, he says, "Will God never show His favor again? Has His unfailing love vanished? Has His promise failed? Has God forgotten to be merciful?" So there's all this questioning. But then he says in verse 10, "Then I thought, to this I will appeal, the years when the Most High stretched out His right hand. I will remember the deeds of the Lord. Yes, I will remember your miracles. I will consider all your works and meditate on your mighty deeds." And so God asks us to remember and reflect on what He's already done in our life, so that when you face your giant and you wonder if God's there or if He's able, He says, "Remember that time when I was with you when you faced the bear, when I rescued you from the paws of the lion. I'm still the same God, and I can do it again." So I encourage you today, take some time. Ask God to remind you of times in your life when He was faithful to you or when He rescued you. Go back to some old journals. If you've never done journaling before, start it, because that's a great way to build that spiritual remembrance, to learn to remember who God is. And if you do that, if you pray and ask God to help you in that way, that's a prayer He loves to answer. He will remind you of who He is in your life, that the same God that rescued you before is with you now. So remember, looking back at what He's already done will give you faith for what He still wants to do in your life.